Game dev is a massive multi-billion-dollar business filled with companies that out-earn some other countries' GDPs.
Sony is buying Bungie. That's right.
But how does one even break into that market independently and become successful?
Yeah, I kind of stupidly quit our jobs and started Windwalk.
That was the CEO and co-founder of Windwalk Games, Colin Feo. You know what you're thinking? Oh, that was easy. Maybe I should take a gamble on my future game studio and quit my job right now. Well, there's quite a bit more to it than that.
So Colin did digital media design, and Chris and I both have computer science degrees. We all had kind of a chance to work in industries with applicable skills.
This is Sam Leonard. He's Chief Product Officer, Lead Game Designer, and co-founder at Windwalk Games.
At the time, I had been working in VR. Before that, I had been at Riot, so I was definitely in the gaming space. Sam was at Red Hat at the time. Chris was at Plaid, so he was doing fintech.
I mean, the original group met way back when. Colin and I are brothers. Sam was our really good friend growing up.
And last but not least, this is Chris Feo, Chief Technical Officer and co-founder at Windwalk Games.
You know, we played a lot of games together growing up.
We met when Colin and Sam were, I believe, in second grade, maybe first grade. Yeah, and I was in third grade. So it's been a long time.
So even before they were Windwalk Games, Colin, Chris, and Sam were all childhood friends who shared a love for gaming while also being technically capable in their own ways. But why would anyone leave a day job that pays for all your needs?
So all of us were kind of out, in our respective jobs. I think all of us had been at them long enough we were a little bit bored.
You know, we had always kind of been interested in entrepreneurship together. Hey, if we're going to do something, we should maybe consider doing it right now.
Colin approached me, I think, saying, hey, we've been talking about this game. We have a little design doc for it. Would you be interested in working on this? So I ended up leaving because I was planning on doing that anyway. I was living with a bunch of people. They moved out. Sam and Colin moved in, and then we were just living in the same house and working down in the dining room.
I was splitting my time between New York and Connecticut. I left my job, and I actually moved and lived on Colin's couch for about a quarter of a year when we were first starting things up.
And then for like 3 months, I just learned how game networking worked.
We were pretty thorough about making sure it was something that we actually wanted to do before we all decided to go sort of like all in. And I mean, gaming is a passion industry in and of itself. So the passion was there, and we were excited to be working as friends, but it was sort of grounded in like a bit of practicality.
Colin and Sam were still working at their jobs, and eventually they left, and we just started working on the game more full-time, probably 3 to 4 months later after that.
And, in particular, we're kind of obsessed with competitive online games. Multiplayer gaming is like also how genuinely Sam, Chris, and I keep up with a lot of friends online. Also, the most lucrative part of the gaming company if you can get it right.
But how do you scale an indie game studio with no money to fund your team?
Yeah, in 2019, Sam and I were living in Connecticut. We were always playing games, and I was working at a fund, crazy finance stuff.
Sam and Chris had already been working on Windwalk for about a year, I think, pretty close. They went through Y Combinator.
They had built a prototype for me on board and were accepted into Y Combinator.
Y Combinator is a startup accelerator that came together in 2005 that had invested in a few small companies, like Reddit, Twitch, Airbnb, DoorDash, and Dropbox, to name a few. What was Windwalk going to do with all these new funds and mentorship from the Y Combinator program? Well, hire a team who can focus on building the community, while the technical team can focus on making the best game possible. So
I've kind of been in and around the company since the beginning, but was the first full-time hire in summer of 2019 alongside Shihan as well.
I did an interview with them at a local cafe, and then another second follow-up interview in the living room of their house. And essentially, that was going to be the office from then on. They did tell me like at the end of the interview like this is exactly where we were going to be working out of, and yeah, I was totally cool with that. I thought working out of a living room is definitely like the startup life, especially living in San Francisco, and lucky enough to get the offer and started working out of that living room, and slowly got to work on the community side of things.
So Shihan and I worked directly on the community side of Enemy on Board, and that started with a single Reddit post in the Dota 2 community, and we got a couple hundred community members from there, and continued to just push the envelope on communicating with our players, hearing their feedback, and ultimately building a game that people cared about.
Well, we definitely have grown. Back then, when I first started, Richard, our head of growth and partnerships and lead of the publishing team right now, we only had one side. We only had 5 people focused on developing Enemy on Board. We were a game studio first and foremost. And every single day I would take a bike ride down to the office, the living room office.
For us, like what we saw being kind of the thread woven through all the successful titles, Dota, Counter-Strike, Deep Rock, it's just that, they didn't really kind of try to dry start their game. They didn't launch it like a Hollywood movie, right? While you're building the game, you're getting playtesters in every day. And not only early on are you getting feedback super early on, but then as you get closer to your launch date, you're also building like a wave, an exciting kind of crew, an ever-expanding crew of players who love your game and can't wait for it to come out.
So, a quick review. In order to build a game studio in your living room, you need to build a team, a group of people who have a variety of skills that you may not necessarily be an expert in. Go full-time. Take your passion in game dev and find a way to make full-time feasible, and build a prototype worth showing. Get funding. If you can find a way to get the attention of an investor or get crowdfunded, go for it. If you can't go full-time with game dev, don't worry. Keep your day job. You can always fund yourself at this step too. Remember, it's never a race, and sometimes the best games are made on no budget at all. And finally, build your community, the most important step. Without a community, your game will not be successful. Find the people who would play the kind of game you want to make, whether it be platformers, RPGs, survival horror, or any other genre. Those are the people you want to hear feedback from in order to create the best game you can. If you like this video, you'd be doing us a favor by hitting the like button, subscribing, and hitting the bell icon. Comment below about what you would like to know about making your own indie game studio. We are also playtesting our game, Project G, so be sure to join our Discord in the links below. See you next time.